Good evening. I'd like to call together this Torrington Public Schools Facility and Technology Committee meeting on Wednesday, April 8th at 5:31 p.m. Roll call. Ms. Leo, Mr. Kalesha, Mr. Cronin is excused. Down administration, got everybody down there? All right. Approval of the agenda. I would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add to facilities a 5 and 6 roof project update and solar panel update, if we could. If anybody else would second that. All those in favor? Aye. So the agenda has passed. Approval of the last month's meeting minutes. Looking for a motion to approve those. And a second. All those in favor? All right, motion passes. Public participation. Anybody in the room who wishes to speak to the board tonight, or anybody on Zoom? Okay, hearing none, we'll skip that section. On to technology. Here we go. Social media update. Over to Ms. Faines.
Hello. So the social media packet or update is in your packet as usual. My gold star of this month is Vogel. They had over 4,000 views on their St. Patrick's Day post, which was extremely adorable. All the kids and teachers were dressed up. And I would like to call attention to the very last slide, which is the new Torrington Nutrition Facebook. They went with the name Cafe Torrington. And I know that they are working on gathering some content on there. And, you know, with recent discussions about the food and nutrition, I think it'll be a really good place to connect with the families and let them know what's going on in the cafeterias here. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions on social media? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Tech update.
So tech update, I know there's a mention of the parent emails on the agenda. I think that was a question that John had last time. And I have been looking into that a bit because we have been running into a little bit where emails are getting flagged as spam. We do have multiple email filters, so sometimes things get caught up in there. And unfortunately, when email accounts are free, it's very easy to create one and, you know, pretend you're somebody else and try to phish or spam somebody. So sometimes real emails do fall into those traps, but we're working our best to try to decipher through that and make sure we add things to whitelists and things of that sort so that that doesn't happen. As for other updates, over the April break, the team is going to be completing our Meraki Wi-Fi project. So over the past few years, we have transitioned to Meraki access points in all of our schools. The final building to get Meraki access points is Fast Academy. We're going to be utilizing the access points, the remainder of the access points that were taken out of the previous high school, because we still have quite a few. So over the break, the team's gonna go in, take down the old ones, put up the new ones. We've already been working to make sure configurations are in place so that it should be, you know, a plug and play type of situation. And then we will be complete with that project. Are there any questions?
No, that's great. A new lease on life for some older access points.
Yes, absolutely.
Anybody on the committee or anybody else have any questions? I do have one. Is in that spam thing, are we taking like an export from Parent Square of like all the parent emails and putting them through the filter as a different way? Or how are we, you said maybe whitelisting them. Is that what we're looking to do, is take known parent emails and flag them a little differently, or?
Yeah, through Power School, so Parent Square, yeah, same thing, because they synchronize with each other. So that's pretty much what we've been doing.
Yeah, perfect. And then lastly, somebody asked me about guest Wi-Fi in the buildings. Now that you're on all Meraki, will there be a open to the public Wi-Fi, even if it's set for hours that are after school? Or I know we've not had open networks all the time just because of student access and things. But I was wondering if maybe there was a plan for after-hours access when the school's technically, closed. We could have an open network for after-hours events or Board of Ed meetings or.
I could certainly look into that. I know that we used to have a BYOD network before Yonder times, so I can kind of resurrect that because it has like the splash page that, you're consenting that you're using the internet for, great purposes and all of that stuff. So we can look into bringing that back for after hours, absolutely.
At your discretion, of course.
Yeah.
I just thought it was something they mentioned. I thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I like
Great.
that idea.
Any other questions for technology? All right, moving on. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for your update. Over to you, Mr. Bergola.
All right, thank you. So the first thing is our project update, as you see it. If you guys have any questions on this, I did add vendor and funding that I think Mr. Putnam asked if he can see that on this sheet. So if there's any questions, be happy to answer them.
Anybody on the committee or others joining us have any questions on the project update before I ask mine? No? I've got a couple, Mr. Bergola. Snow damage, is that from plowing or is that
Yeah.
from roof leaks?
Snow damage, and yeah, it is from plowing, so I am putting together a list, some costs that I actually spoke to our lawyer about possibly seeing what we can do as far as that goes. This was their,
Original.
yeah.
Okay. Next was the complex parking signs.
Yep.
Did they not provide those for us with the building committee?
Some were not, so we did put a bunch of visitors up, and we put reserved up that were not there, and we still got a few of those to go.
Yeah, and I saw somebody took one out a couple weeks ago, too.
And that was one of those also, the snowplow, so.
All right, next on my list was the status of, I saw the Midgeon Avenue one still out here, and I know you guys are anxious to put that one to rest, but wasn't sure the status of that one. It just said, hi, custodians in progress.
Yeah, so we're 99.9 done.
Oh, nice.
The city has more or less taken over, handed over the keys. We still have keys and codes to get in there, but we're just waiting for some of the other people that wanted some of the equipment to come back. St. Paul the Great, St. John the Great was there today. I think after somebody else that wants to come in and grab some more stuff. So I've been working with the city on that and transferring. But the electricity is in their name now. Any other utility, we switched it over.
Otherwise known as rightfully theirs.
Yeah.
They're building now, right? I mean,
Pretty
you've
much.
done all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
we're out. So the shredding went well, the move went well. The guys we had over there, our crew that was over there was phenomenal. The custodians that we sent over there, they humped and humped and humped. It was raining, it was snowing, and they were in and out, going to the dumpster and the shredder, and it was a lot of stuff in that building.
Oh, yeah, a lot of gratitude to the team. That was,
Yeah.
that was the place where everything went to,
Yep,
for deep storage
yep.
for decades. Next question is fast 10 bathrooms, 2 per classroom, locks and switches.
Yeah, so the bathrooms there were originally designed for young kids, and I believe the locks are on the outside, no locks, and the switches are on the outside. So we're gonna look at making it a little bit more accessible for older kids to go in there and turn the lights up, without having the lights shut off on them and stuff like that, so
Gotcha.
some small repairs there.
Next was 50 Major Bessie Drive cafeteria equipment noise.
Yeah, we're kind of, the manufacturer came out, you can hear it now, so we've kind of solved the problem by shutting it down when we're having meetings, but, they're telling us you got what you bought.
Gotcha, so it may just be the spec of the equipment.
It
and
is, it's the equipment, yeah.
then- Okay, so nothing needed to be replaced under warranty?
No. No, why is that still on there? Second.
Page 18.
Yeah, I just think it's just ongoing on that. We were looking at, I think, as a matter of fact, I think they're coming out, I could be wrong, I'll have to check with Kristen for one of the pieces of equipment, whether it's warranty or not, I don't know.
And then 50 Major Bessie Drive, the gates, is that not,
The gate in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because of, once they get that far with the construction, we have to get that thing back up and running. It's not, it's open, dummy opened right now.
Gotcha. This is the existing gate in the back then?
Yep.
Gotcha. I think that's what I had for questions on projects. Anybody else? All right. Thank you for the update on that. And you had a capital plan 2627, a few revisions I noticed. If you could maybe explain that one to the group?
Yeah, so on this capital plan, the additions were on the 50 Major Bessie. Actually, there was more additions to that because we ended up, our 313 fund, we were able to recover some money because of some grants that we were able to get for the Torrington chiller, and because of the way the middle school roof turned out. So we were able to put some stuff back in there, and you'll see that we're under the 313 fund. Stuff that we're going to be able to handle under the 313 fund. The additional stuff that we plugged in there was for 50 Major Bessie for here was the outdoor bleachers are in the Capitol, and also the scoreboard is also in there for this year. As you can see, second page, 50 Major Bessie Drive all the way down.
Yep.
Total of $73,000
it.
for that.
All right, perfect. Anybody have any questions on the capital plan? All right, next up is Torrington chiller proposals.
Okay, Torrington chiller proposal. You have the sheet I gave you, and if you all looked at it, and I just handed a new sheet out. I did have another vendor come in, Carrier, came in today, and I handed this sheet out. It's not complete. I just got it about 20 minutes ago. I apologize, but I think it's worth looking at this point. If you look at least the cost of this, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4th line down, you can see that the Carrier came in considerably lower than the next lowest price. The other thing we want to pay attention to is the lead time, which is huge. We're trying to figure if we can get one here. If we can get one here, either install it before summer school or install after summer school. So we have June 23rd, kids are out, and then I believe July 7th or the 10th, summer school is in. So we have that window to get it going, or we wait till summer school is over, and then we do it, obviously, in August. So some of the lead times on some of these other pieces of equipment, they kind of took themselves out of the race because it takes so long to get the piece of equipment. The one thing with the Carrier is I wasn't able to go through all the details. I have to make sure that the voltage and the voltage is there, the amperage is correct, and also it kind of, sometimes they deregulate because of the glycol solution in it, and I wasn't able to dig in fast enough today to do it. So this is a pretty rough sheet. What I'm asking, so this is equipment only. So I went out and I called all these manufacturers, and I was able to get these prices either through Sourcewell or through Omnia pricing agreement. The other additional costs that are going to be the piping, the electrical, some glycol, low voltage, rigging that I was going to get prices on, and kind of do everything in-house here through me instead of going out for a turnkey pricing. Now, saying that, some of the vendors I talked to already kind of gave me a rough idea, but until they know what unit goes in, because each one of these units could be piped differently, so that could add a little bit of cost here on the electrical end also. Not a huge amount, but the biggest thing was to get this thing bought, ordered, and delivered, and then work through installation that way. So I'm looking to, just muddied it up a little bit, but I guess I'm asking, the approval to purchase either one of these, depending if the Carrier comes through. Obviously, that would be my choice. It's $55,000 cheaper, as long as all the other items and it all aligns to what we have to align it with. pad size. I think the pad size is okay, but my concern right now is the electrical side of it. I won't know until I dig into it tomorrow.
Okay, anybody have any questions on the proposal for the chillers? Anybody on the committee or otherwise? Well, I will, but I always reach. Couple questions. What did we, I know this is through the state contract and the consortiums. I saw the Omnia and Sourcewell, but did we issue like a
No.
RFP for like, here's the specs we want and here's
We,
the,
I sent it out with all the specs that we want. I took all the details off of the drawings that we had, off the piece of equipment that's existing. So it's a swap out. So that's what this is based on original design, original flow, original BTUs of that chiller that's there.
okay, so 2 vendors came back with something that it says will not fit?
They would have to extend the pad. So when it says doesn't fit, it's like it won't work. So the pad that's there, there's an existing 6-inch pad that's 8 feet by 25 feet. Their unit is a little bit bigger, so we would, again, when I go to price this out, we'd have to get a cost on extending the pad to fit the unit.
Yeah, or I guess, I've seen these units overhang before, so.
You get a certain amount, it depends on how much, it all depends on where the points of weight are. You're right, we might be able to get away with it. Each unit's different where the points coming down are for the weight, so we'd have to look at whatever unit we go with to decide whether we have to add to the pad or not.
So I guess my confusion is where, I know we can go to these people directly.
Yep.
Obviously, we get the pricing and
Yep.
it's all allowed, but I guess I'm missing, don't we still need to put like a proposal together, like a bid spec, so that we can at least say, hey, we don't have to go out and go to bid, but here's the RFP with all the pieces we were gonna do, and here's the project, here's all the specs. I'm not sure how you, that's how I'm used to. I'm not
Yep.
sure if,
Well, again, with this consortment, when we purchase with these consortments, and the city has done it on their side, I've talked to Jamie on their side over there, and it seems to eliminate the outright, RFP when it comes to that, with your approval.
gotcha. So what about all the labor and the rigging, all that stuff? Well, obviously.
You're going to have to
exceed
see,
our
once
purchasing.
that comes up, again, once I figure out what unit it is, I can get numbers on exactly, and I can get 3 numbers from different vendors on installation. I know the electrical is probably going to be somewhere, I got a number, I know exactly. We should be spending no more than, $70,000 for installation on this. Now, I did go out originally and got a number on a complete package, and it was considerably more than what we're going to be spending to do this, considerably more. And
Well, we like savings, obviously.
it's a huge savings by going this route.
So how about the installation, as you said, call it 70, 50, 70, 80, whatever it may
Yep,
be?
yep.
Do we not, the installation's not an Omnia contract, right?
No, the installation wouldn't be Omnia. Now, we do have an option to go to these vendors here and ask them for a turnkey price, because they will offer turnkey. So they would go out and they would get the subcontractors, and then they would kind of do all that if we wanted to do that route. But it's going to be more than me doing it. By me doing it and managing it, that's where we're saving the money, including purchasing. We just eliminated the bid price. If I went to contractors and went out, these vendors, first of all, we're not sure which one they would go with and which one would be here in time, which is another key point. Second of all, you get a bid number. When you win the job, they give you a buyout number. Well, I got the buyout number. So this, going through Sourcewell, if you look at somebody's numbers, you're kind of eliminating that portion of the bid process.
Sure, so where do we get things like, the performance bond and all that stuff? Where do we get all those pieces that protect us if we do it this way?
Well, as far as performance bond, this is pretty much a warranty goes through this unit. Each one of these, the warranty is your performance bond on the warranty. As far as your labor goes, I'm not sure we would, because it is broken up like that, if we would have a performance on a piping or,
I'm just thinking, when you put everything's spelled out.
Yep.
That's all. So if we're going this route to avoid the whole bid process, how do we make sure that all of our terms are the ones that apply? When you guys write out the things, you give them all the terms. We want to do it this way, this way, this way.
Yep.
How do we communicate that to these vendors?
What I
doing
would
it
be in
this
the contract that we write with them through our lawyers, and we've been working very closely with all our contracts. Don and I have to clean them up and get them out so we're protected a little bit better.
way? Okay. Anybody else have any questions from the committee or otherwise?
Yeah,
Mr. Mr. Berger.
When it goes out this way, I think we still obligated to send out a formal RFQ, if you want to call it, that does include performance bonds. If you want it done by a certain date, you could put liquid damages in there so that because someone says it's in stock, but okay, we order it and they say, oh, well, it's back ordered right now, and then you're into September. If we put a hard date, August 25th, liquid damages, $1,500 a day, every day it's beyond that, we're kind of protecting ourselves a little bit. And I don't know what you sent to these guys, but we're basically, you went out and got 3 proposals, which is great, but we're basically doing the work on their terms at this point, where we should be sending out an RFQ that specify what our terms are. That would include performance bonds, payment bonds, liquid damages, and so forth. I think even though you go through a consortium or a buying group, we're still required to put out the request for proposal or request for quote with the terms and conditions and like a normal bid package would be. You don't have to go out to public bid. You can buy it through the consortium, but we're still required to cross our Ts and dot our Is. We still have to have a bid package put together, or call it a quotation package, which specifies what our terms, indemnification, and everything else is in normal RFP language. That's what should be presented to these guys when you get a quote. Whether it's just equipment only, or it's turnkey, whatever it may be, we should specify our specifications clearly, what we want.
So the only specifications they had was equipment. As far as what you're talking about, that's something that we definitely could do, whether they have to agree with it or not, or they don't. And I know that the terms, when you go through Omnia or Sourcewell, that's what their prices come through at, through the terms through Omnia. Now, are they aligned with ours? You know, I guess that's what you're asking.
So Omnia is going to set performance bonds, payment
No,
bonds, and
no,
liquid
as far
damages?
as, whatever purchasing agreement, that's all on the purchase side of it. So, I mean, something like that could be done through a contract, as far as if we go to one of these people and say, all right, well, we're willing to buy a unit with these terms.
No, okay. I would prefer to see the quotes coming back through with our terms, with an RFQ. Request for quote, like this is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
That have all the things in the normal bid language that should be included in our proposal. That's just my opinion. The second thing is funding. I know we're talking about 2 different budget periods here, and Mr. Wilson, you may want to help with this. So right now, we don't have anything in capital budget. We need to get approval from the city to move a certain number of dollars over into capital to pay for this project. Is that correct?
Yes, but this is the money that has been set in our 313 account, that is ours, that we just have to send a letter to the city saying this is how we're using it. So if you recall that meeting when we had with the joint
Yeah,
meeting.
with the roof project,
Correct.
yes.
So that was actually already discussed at that evening. The reason that letter has to change is because we were able to now use money from that DRIP grant to get the chiller.
Okay.
So the money is there, and it doesn't matter. I understand your concern that it would go into the summer, and we're talking about now. The fiscal year for that money, that's irrelevant for this.
So what happens first? We ask the city to move the money, because they could deny it.
So the
They could
money,
deny that move. So
so-
do we say, hey, this is what it's going to cost, we want this to be moved into 313, then we purchase? Or do we purchase and ask for the money later?
so Mrs. Labby can elaborate, but that money is already in the 313 account. This is money that we already have in the account. The city doesn't have to move it over. That money is
Okay.
already sitting
I
in the
thought the
account.
313 account was a city account.
Well, it is
It
a
is.
city account, but it's, they already went through the painstaking process 6 months or so ago, right? To figure out all of the leftover bits of money that was in the city capital that was really Board of Ed stuff. And they've separated it all out. We have a statement of agreement with the city on how much money was allocated for us to use, and we are free to spend on
But it was
approved
still up in
capital
the air when we were
projects.
talking about the roof project, because they wanted they talk about the reserve account as well. So I don't know if everything was clearly defined, and we really don't know the overall cost until we get, like Dean was pointing out, the glycol, the electrical, and the piping, and other stuff. Are we doing that under a capital project as well? Is this going to be one big capital project, or is this going to be, How are we going to pay for the other ancillary stuff that's not included?
No, I believe it would be one capital project.
Okay.
So, and I don't want to, I agree with what you're saying. This number, correct me if I'm wrong, Dean, this number is just for the equipment.
Understood.
That's what, and so when Dean put together a price originally in that 313 line item as a placeholder, he included that roughly, I think it's additional 80 grand, and he said 70 this evening, but I believe that that number that we had as a placeholder in that line item,
I believe it was around 400.
No, it was actually, it was actually, it's like 480.
Yeah, it was
so
almost
we're
480
covered. If this
or
comes
5.
in more,
Maybe
I
it was
mean,
5.
this comes in less, we'll have obviously additional funds that we could use for other capital projects.
Okay. Last question with the grant. I know there were some problems with the building project and the outside fields as far as when you purchase through a consortium, sometimes there's some limitations. They ran into a problem where there wouldn't be state reimbursement. Is there any problems if you buy through the consortium where the grant, are there any issues with that? Because when they went to go purchase the turf, they weren't gonna, it wasn't eligible for state reimbursement because they were purchasing through a consortium. Now, if we're planning on using grant money, I would maybe want to double check. I doubt it, but I would hate to get holding the bag at the end. We're like, oh, wow, you bought through a consortium, this grant doesn't apply.
There was that little issue with turf. The night we had the proposals, I believe, there was a conversation, Mr. Wilson's nodding his head, that there was some issue with that. I don't remember what it was, but
Yeah, I believe because, and I don't recall that evening is a while back, but it was because of how that fields were an additional, and then grant money was used to get those fields, whereas this, from a DRIP grant, this is pointed specific.
Okay.
And I would say, but I would defer to Donna because she's the grant expert, but I think there's the confusion because, and not that the field turf did anything wrong, but I think it's how that was put into the grant after the fact, as opposed to the DRIP grant is with more specificity for items like this. But Donna, feel free to correct me.
You're correct. And the DRIP grant, District Repair and Improvement Project grant, doesn't have those same parameters that you're speaking of. It's up to the local district to be able to spend it on what they feel is needed.
okay. So I
That's
guess
my piece.
my last question is, so if we approve this, you're going to go out to one of these vendors, verify availability, and then what are the next steps as far as, I mean, we can't just probably spend $70,000 without the process, right? That stuff wouldn't be covered by Omnia.
As far as the labor?
Yes.
So the
All
labor,
other services.
once we pick the unit, then I'll go through the same process of, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, so one of the prices I think I got from our control contractor, SNE, was in the neighborhood of 12 to 13,000, I think, right? But there are control contractors, it's not, we're tying into their system, $12,000. The biggest nut is going to be the piping, the mechanical piping and all of that, and that could be, you know, again, I have a placeholder in there, I'd rather not say, but, you know, that would be the biggest one, and our mechanical contractors, who does our service, is going to price it. I have 2 other people that are ready to price it also.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, so you're looking for really just us to send this to the full board, I assume?
Yeah, so I'm guessing, because I have more homework to do, like usual, to bring it to the full board with my final decision on what it is.
That's where I was going to go with this,
Yes.
so yes.
So let me solidify between the 2 that would be here in time, which would be the Carrier and the ITT York. They would be here so we can get it done before next school season.
And if you can't have them for next school season, I mean, the chiller really runs hard for, call it 6 to 8 weeks. So after that point, I mean, if they didn't make it, that's the hard part. You would need some real guarantees, to Mr. Berger's point, on delivery timelines.
Yeah,
because
and I'm really
if we're
looking to-
picking one that then turns out not to be here, we rushed it for no
Right.
reason. Because once you get to September and everybody comes back to the building, the chiller's nice, but it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world.
Yeah, I would like to, my goal is to get it done before summer school starts. That would be my ultimate goal. If it's in stock and we can roll with it this way here, you know, middle of July is the hottest month, so we're not hoping and praying that old one still runs. That's
All right, so we'll look for a full proposal then
You
with
got
all the
it.
details at the full board meeting.
Okay, Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody opposed to that? We'll just quick vote to move it to the full board. Motion to move it to the full board. Second. All those in favor? All right, it'll move to the full board's agenda later this month. Thank you. Next up is landscaping addendum 1.
Okay, I included I think you got the whole package with the pictures in back. So we had, as you can see on the second page, I believe, we had 4 people come through the mandatory pre-bid meeting. This addendum came from that meeting, from some of the questions they asked me during that meeting. Yesterday was the deadline for any additional questions, and I haven't received any. So this is pretty much where it stands. We just adjusted a few things on here, some wording that we had in there. I want to make sure it was clear, and there was no questions after the bids came through, so hopefully we have all the questions answered. So if you have any questions on that.
Anybody in the group have any questions? So you're hoping to have the bids all back in time for the end of month meeting?
That was my next question. Thank you for that. No, what I would like to do, and I don't know how to do this, so probably should have talked to you first, boss, about this. Is there any way we can have a meeting before that? Because the bids aren't coming back until next. I don't even know, right? I should have known that.
It was over the break, wasn't it? I believe the bids come back over the break. They're due over the break.
Yes, but it's after yes, so I wanted to possibly have a day or so to go through them to make sure everything is aligned, and then maybe have a special meeting. Is that a thing that we can do to approve the low bidder on that, so we can get moving on it?
We certainly can create a special meeting. It's not really my committee to make that decision, but Mr. Berger is vice chair. I don't actually know that I can create that. All right, well then, we could, what about right before the full board meeting? Anybody can you guys make it early that night? That's pretty much a couple days after you get the bids anyways. You're getting the bids on April break. Full
We're
board
getting the
meeting is-
bids on, so I was just looking at one of the bids coming in here. I'm all jammed up here.
Did we ever receive the copy of the full bid package that went out?
Yeah,
It was in the full board. I looked, it was in the full
Last
board.
time I was here, we're going to change a bunch of stuff.
Full
but did we
board
ever-
meeting.
full board,
Last full board meeting.
Last full board meeting had the
Yes, in the
final
back.
one that was going out?
Yes.
And that had stuff in it as far as like background checks and stuff, correct?
Yeah.
Required background checks
Yep.
for all employees and all that stuff?
background, it had DOT on their vehicles and names on their shirts for stuff like that. Yeah, can I, yeah, I believe next Tuesday is the bid date to open. So we can have it before the meeting on Wednesday, right, before the full board meeting? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Does anybody else on the committee have a problem? That should suffice, give you all the needs.
Yeah, I'll get it done.
So
Yeah.
we'll have a special meeting half an hour before the full board meeting that night.
Yeah.
Work
Okay.
for everybody? All right, no problem. All right, without any further questions on landscaping, number 5 is roof update. I just added that. I know we had the referendum, and the last time we spoke about it, we said we'd have a quick discussion about where the next steps were, so everybody was aware, since we are very grateful to have passed the referendum here in Torrington, very closely, but we did pass.
Yeah, I'll let Donna run with that.
Oh, okay, great. Well, the good news is, as you said, the referendum passed, so we were able to update the 1049R that went to our grants administration representative at the state, along with the certification of the referendum, and so they have it. I made sure they received it as soon as we received it, and they're reviewing it. So next step would be is we would hear from them. Hopefully, they would give us their blessing, and then we can roll out the RFP for that project, the invitation to bid for that project. So that would be the best case scenario.
Are there any changes to the RFP that need to be made, or is it ready to go, same as last time, besides the date changes and things like that?
It's been looked at and reviewed very closely by our council, and it's pretty much ready to go. So as you noted, just some date changes.
And what are we anticipating rolling that out? If we have some luck from the state side.
Yeah, I email them weekly, so sometimes I call. So I think that they did tell me it would only take a few weeks for them to review it, so hopefully that's their timeline. So that would put us at maybe like next Friday.
Okay, excellent. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I do have one question.
Go ahead.
I think it was around last year this time, we actually started going through this painful process the first time, or not really the first time, but our first time. We said we're all ready, and then when we got in front of Kermit and the state, there were probably like 8 or 9 different forms that had to be filled out. Are those refilled out, or can we use the same forms?
Because the scope hasn't changed, all the schematics are the same, everything's the same.
Not the drawings from the architect, the state forms that had to be filled out. There were a plethora of them.
Yes.
They need to be refilled out.
They do not.
Okay. Cool.
Look at that, a smile down that end of the table. I like it. All right, moving on from roof, number 6, solar update. We had the presentation, and you had to go back to the city. What transpired from there? Where are we at on that one? I see it on your list of projects, but I figured I'd ask on the agenda item.
Well, so we really haven't gotten the green light from our lawyer, talking to their lawyer at this point. And it's really at a standstill. Personally, I think just because it's such a quagmire right now with what can you, can't you, and if you can do this back and forth. You know, I know we put a lot of time into this thing, but I'm almost of the opinion that we don't follow through with it. There's so much legal stuff in these contracts with these solar people, the ones that the city signed, and now this one here. I just feel like it's too much exposure, to be honest with you.
What was the concern that the attorney, if we can say, what are the issues if the city signed off on it? So now it's back to.
Well, the language that the contract the city signed was where it's not quite clear on, you know, if we do this and we don't use a certain amount of electricity, does it void it and are you going to get back charged? And yeah, it's a tangled web.
So we're pending anything, or are we just letting it roll, or?
I'll leave it up to you guys. I mean, you know, you tell me. I'd say let it go.
Anybody else have I mean, I don't quite understand not knowing all the details of the hangup. You know, me, I see the $100,000+ a year. So that's.
Might be able to shed a little light on this, pun intended, for the solar project. Anyways, so the city has a contract and I think it's till 2028. So as Mr. Pergola was noting, if we enter into this other contract, it would open up our exposure for the other company that they signed the contract with, that we are obligated to provide so much, I guess, electricity back for their program. So that was a snag that we hit like late in the game, and it just came to light, and then we were fortunate to have our council involved in it. They said to put a pin in it. There is another round coming out, I think, in August for this same sort of program, but it's a smaller pool. This pool was bigger and is very competitive. So I think, you know, we do have time to sit on it and think about it, but we really are kind of tied to that 2028, where we're locked in, and we would be putting ourselves at, you know, having exposure for litigation if we were to enter into this other project.
So this is not a concern about the construction of it. This is more a concern. We must have like a power agreement or something.
Exactly.
And we are guaranteeing we're going to purchase so much power from them. Is that the?
You got it.
Got it. So, all right, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? No? Anybody else? Well, it sounds like the answer's already there. If the attorneys aren't going to go with it, then if somebody comes back and gives us great news, great, I mean, but it sounds like it's kind of at a standstill here. All right, topics for future meetings. Anybody have anything they want to see on the agenda in future meetings? Well, certainly we'll check with Mr. Cronin as well. But obviously we'll have a roof update, the project updates again, things that are already out here. We'll have the chiller update again. How are we doing on Siemens? Did they finish that up? Are they done with the retro commissioning project, or is that totally done?
Oh, Siemens, I'm sorry, this is the steaming.
Yeah, Siemens.
Yeah, so we're ready to fire those chillers up there too. They wanted to get some more readings as they're going, but they're in, it's all fully up and operational.
So maybe we can do a quick, project closeout in the next
Yeah,
meeting?
yep.
So we can add Siemens.
I'm just gonna say, I know they wanted to get that chiller up and running to get those readings on that also, before they kind of sign off, they're not gonna sign off on it, but,
Sure, well, the Siemens retro commissioning is over at TIS, isn't it?
yeah, what are you talking about?
Or right, but you just said the chiller, isn't the chiller?
Well, the chiller there, that chiller.
Different time frame.
Different chiller.
Okay.
That chiller, up and operating.
Will they have that ready for
Oh,
next
yeah,
month?
yep.
Then let's add that to the agenda for next month. If it needs to move, obviously we can move it.
Yep.
Anybody with anything else? All right. Comments for the good of the order. We'll start down with Marissa.
Great meeting, everybody.
Great meeting. I wanted to let Donna know I appreciated her pun.
Good meeting, thanks for listening.
Great meeting, thank you.
Good meeting, thank you.
Good meeting, thanks.
Good meeting.
Good meeting.
Good meeting, and I'm glad we didn't get stuck in that solar quagmire.
Yeah, thank you guys for all of your effort tonight. Appreciate all the hard work and lots of projects ahead. It sounds like it's going to be a busy summer, so on that note, looking for a motion to adjourn. Second? All those in favor? This meeting has been adjourned at 6:14 PM. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this Torrington Public Schools Budget Committee meeting on Wednesday, April 8th at 6:16 PM. Call to order, roll call. Everybody from the committee's here except for Mr. Cronin, who's excused. Got some extra Board of Ed members. Everybody, representatives are all here. Excellent. Approval of the agenda. Looking for an approval of the agenda. A second? All those in favor? Next is approval of the minutes. There are 2 meeting minutes here. If nobody minds, we'll just approve them as a packet. If anybody's had a chance to review them, we'll be looking for a motion to approve the minutes from March 11th and March 16th, our budget meetings. For both, second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Next, public participation. I don't see anybody in the room, but we'll check. Mr. Michelson, no? Nobody out there. On to number 6, discussion next steps. Our usual review and approve monthly financials. Over to you, Mrs. Labby.
Thank you, Mr. Putnam. I wanted to just say good evening to everybody, and everyone should have received the packet that were the monthly financials to date to March 31st, 2026. And on page 12 is where they start. And I just had a couple updates from the last meeting in our public participation meeting on March 16th that I wanted to address. There were a few questions raised there, so I was going to go through those. And then I just had a couple quick comments on this packet for this month. So one of the questions that came up was the property equipment line item in our budget that we're proposing. And it had, well, the existing budget has it as well, $35,000 for equipment, and that is for maintenance equipment. The other item that came up was non-instructional equipment, and that item was also for athletic equipment in the amount of about $29,000, some cubbies for the schools, and some other actual equipment for the schools. So I just wanted to raise that up. And then for this packet, I was just going to have everybody look at page 12. And were there any questions for those follow-up answers for those? We good? All right, so page 12, everybody will be happy to see we do have some building use revenue coming in. That's up to about 15,000 plus. We still have, and this is in the bottom of the actual budget page. On the bottom, you'll see building use revenue year-to-date and billed but not received. So we have about 4,000 coming in there. So then if you flip through your packet to page 15, item 5130, which is overtime, you'll notice that it is over. But we are looking at that closely, and there was reasons for it. Obviously, with the custodians, we had a lot of snow. We had the transition for the redistricting, so that's what's pushing that number up. And for clerical, we have some clerical that needed to cover other positions that were vacant. And so we are going to be looking at that trending down over the next month, so that will be nice. We also are obviously putting a freeze on it unless it's an absolute need to have overtime. So that is for 5130. Then on page 16, if you go to 5211, you're going to notice, and that's right at the top of the page, that's our life insurance. And you'll notice that that is trending over a little, and we do get billed about $10,000 a month, so I do anticipate that that is going to be over about $30,000. The reason for this is that sometimes it's hard to really budget for it because it is based on salaries, and salaries do increase, but each year, you know, we do have some people that retire, and we have newer teachers coming in, so it's kind of a tough one to really target. But last year we spent 117, so this year 120 was a good place to land. So we will look at that for next year if we need to adjust that. And then we have on page 16, actually we're on page 16. Sorry, page 17. So we're looking at that lovely item, snow plowing. And as you know, we had some storms, and we had to use that line item, which is in an overage right now of $158,000. We are hoping to have some savings in some other areas in general maintenance that will hopefully cover that expense. So we're keeping a very close look on that. And then we have on page 17 also 5440 copier services. We're locked in with our leasing program through LEAF, but the PRISM program, which is the servicing, seems to be trending a little higher than we wanted. So we do have a call out to the vendor to find out the reason behind that. So we'll have more information at the next meeting on that. And then on page 18, we're looking at 5622. So, electricity. We are trending over, as we know we were going to, but this number here does not reflect the 30,000 that we get from CAF for the month of March. So that one will be coming in next month. So you'll see that hopefully trending level, we're hoping. Each month we do bill 30,000. So we're going to be keeping another close eye on that as well. And that is my updates as far as the items that I wanted to bring to your attention. Does anybody have any questions?
Let's find out. Anybody on the committee or anybody down there have any questions for Mrs. Labby on the budget update, the monthly financials? No? Anybody else? I've got a few, but you've hit a bunch of them as usual.
Great.
First, page 14, 5112.90 longevity. It's just the last couple of months, it's had a random $270 payment in it, and normally it comes out in chunks. I wasn't sure if.
Sure, you're right to see that and see it be an anomaly. So we really pay that out in December, so you'll see like that 65,000 in the next column where it says year-to-date transactions. That is the big payout. The 270 that you're seeing is a very incremental amount that comes out for custodians, or that goes towards custodians weekly, and it is a agreement that was certified for people who were hired prior to a certain date. And it is a very small increment that is paid on a monthly basis on an equation based on their salary.
Great, thank you. On page 15, you hit most of my 15 questions, but 5120, 5120.02 and 03, the substitutes. I noticed that we are heading way over on substitutes, and the confusion here on my part, I look at it like this. We've had a lower absentee rate, which is awesome. Our higher fill rate from the vendor is because we have less positions to fill. They may be getting more people, but in general, if you had 150 positions to fill last year, you could only fill 50 of them, and now you have 100 positions and you fill 50. You know, you still have the same number of people working, and there's just a better fill rate. Our overtime for clerical and all these other different things and the substitutes are all trending high. So if more people are here, I was just confused as to why they were trending over. Maybe it's long-term absences. And there's a couple plausible reasons, but.
Sure, so that's a great observation. So for our substitutes, first of all, we do know that they were budgeted lower than they should have been, and we've rectified that for our FY27 budget. Secondly, the rates went up for our substitutes, and in order to be able to have those higher fill rates, which are wonderful, we are paying a little bit more. And as you noted, we do have some people out on long-term absences, so it's obviously they're there for a longer amount of time. So those are some of the reasons why they're trending high. And as I noted, we did fix it for next year. We looked at a 5-year look back, and it definitely is funded a little low there. And the OT for the other unions below that's kind of not related or correlated to the positions that have substitutes up top. So those are mostly because of vacancies where people had to cover for other, clerical staff, or obviously the snow removal and, the transition for the custodians, which is your big ticket items there.
Great, and while we're in the overtime one, 5130.81, it says OT wages, rental, custodian, that's a new line item this month?
Good eye. So yes, this is something that we are working on diligently to try to tie out when they have an event at a school. We want to tie out so you're actually seeing money coming in there. That negative 5,000 is payments from the people that are renting the facilities. And it's going to cover the OT for the custodians. Currently, the OT for the custodians is getting billed to the OT wages per school. But we want to rectify that, and so that it's going to be a coding issue as far as when they do that type of overtime. We're going to have it coded directly to that line item. So it's just sort of to pull it out so we can really see the amount of overtime and then the amount of income that we're taking in.
Oh, that'll be great. It'll help us, have a better idea of what we're spending to make the building open, which is great to have people in the building, but good to know about its costs. So that's great. Thank you. Next, let's see, you already got page 16, page 17. I did happen to notice that, is that everything? Are we all in on the snow plowing now, Mr. Bergola? So that actually, or close, we'll say,
I'd have to see where, I think we are.
or close enough. We're not $100,000 out on it, so that means we spent 280. So even with a very, very large storm season, this still wasn't horrible, we'll say. And maybe we should consider this as an option next time we look at the snow plowing contracts. Maybe not going to an unlimited type scenario. Maybe the facility committee talks about paying as we go versus, unlimited contracts. I know that's hard for budgetary purposes, but if you think back to what the proposal was back a while back, this still wasn't horrible. Next on my list was 561004. It's on page 18. Cleaning supplies. Now, I know this account gets used far more towards the end. It's what a kind of a spring type thing before we replenish all the supplies and there's contracts and things, but it's down at 8%. I wasn't sure if you had an idea what we were trending it for that one.
No, the actual dollar amount right now, no, we're putting that together as we speak. So, and again, that'll be for summer stuff, in our,
Oh, yeah.
so, spring break is here, we're kind of focusing on that.
All right, well, we'll look at it again next month then. And I think you have answered the rest of my questions, Mrs. Labby.
Wonderful.
Nicely done. Anybody else have any questions, follow-ups? All right, then I need to get a motion to send this monthly financials to the full board. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll move this to the full board. Perfect. And next up is student activity fund reports.
Great, so everybody received this in their packet, and I apologize if it got cut off, if you actually tried to print it, because it was very long. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to really dig into the student activity, and we also included the PTO, because we're really working diligently with the PTO for getting all their records reconciled, and they've been absolutely amazing with that. So what you're seeing before you, if you go to the top and you're looking at your student activity by school, you're going to see in the bottom left their prior year balance, and then you're going to see what was deposited and what was taken out above it. So your current balance is what you're looking at in that center column on the bottom. And so we just went through each school, and we worked with the school secretaries as well, and who all have amazing books on this. We do, I have to say, have a new accountant that we're very thrilled to have, and she has audit experience with RSM and some other places, so she really is taking a fine lens on this, and it's been spectacular as far as controls, and everybody's been so cooperative. So yes, so if you go across the top, you're going to see this school, you're going to see their ins and outs. Then all the way to the far right, and this might have gotten cut off, but we do have a Board of Education IT account as well. And there is some money in there that we had from the prior year, and we had some deposits. I believe those were when we had the apples returned, the ones that we weren't using, we were getting rebates. And then we were able to purchase other items in that fund. And that would complete the student activity on the top. And then on the bottom is the PTO, again, same pattern, prior year balance, and then their deposits and their withdrawals and what their current balance is. And we did have a wonderful Zoom with all the treasurers and PTO presidents and went over their policy and procedures as far as cash disbursements go. So that was, just wanted to make sure we shared that with everybody. And it's a work in progress. There are some things that we still have to reconcile, but just wanted to at least get that out there.
Great, thank you for that explanation. Anybody on the committee or otherwise have any questions about the student activity funds? No? I have just a few, not many. On the PTO line item, Torrington Intermediate School PTO, they didn't, is that the old Forbes, or is
Yes.
that was my, in my
Yes.
head thinking.
Yeah,
as we
they hit
went.
the ground running.
All right, that's the old Forbes.
Correct,
All
yeah.
right, and then we had this last time, I think, on the high school one, which holds, and the high school is the complicated one, right? That's the one that has like 40 or 50 sub-accounts in it that had all the, I think
Yes.
last time you presented and showed us, there were scholarship funds, and we went
Yes.
through that list and found some things that, I think we looked at and said, oh, why is all this money in this one item that hasn't been used in 10 years? Do you have that list by chance?
We do, and we are reading through it, as you said, even more so. So at the top, yes, the Torrington High School account, you will see a high balance there, and that is a lot attributed to their scholarships. They have a lot of wonderful donations that are given from our community organizations and individuals that really support our students. So that's where that big ticket item is mostly, and then they broke out project graduation below because that's its own little entity in itself.
Sure, so most of those other schools are, I'm assuming, the principal fund.
Correct.
So the Torrington High School is the only one that really holds other,
It has the principal fund embedded in that, as well as probably, I want to say like 30 to 40 accounts.
right? So can we, once you have completed that, can we get
Sure,
the look at that like we did last year? That was helpful. I think the
absolutely.
committee liked looking at that. The last one I have is BOE IT on the end.
Sure.
I see the 200,000 deposit, which is August, which means that was probably the first, well, Ms. Vane's still here? No, she's not. She had said there were 2 batches of, we call them trade-ins or whatever I forget what they called them, buybacks from Apple. Is that the entire amount, or is that both batches? Is that the first early batch? And then what did we buy with them? I'm guessing that the 200,000 plus in August, and then it went back out, so I'm assuming.
Sure, and I would defer to Ms. Viens. I do know the answer to your first question, and I can get that answer from her for our next meeting. But this is one part of that buyback program, and I believe there was a second part, and she's working with the vendor currently to get that amount that they will be rebating us with. But as far as the items, the actual individual items that were purchased, I'm assuming they were computers, but I will defer to her.
So we put it in a activity fund instead of back into GB?
This was one of the funds that was set up, I believe, when parents had to pay insurance for their devices. So I think that it was a good place to put it because we do keep such a good books with the credit union. So, and it was connected to something called Stripe. That's the payment process. So that's why I believe the Stripe does not, as far as commingling it with the general ledger, I think it would be a little bit tricky there. But this is all audit friendly because we've had it in previous audits and it was fine.
Okay, I guess my concern was just that it really is a credit on, if it's a trade, and it's kind of like a credit on a capital purchase. So, I mean, if you guys bought other capital things with it, I mean, I see that she can explain, but I guess it passed through, but it just seemed strange that it wouldn't go back to like a reimbursement. So if you have a reimbursement on a roof or somebody's giving you money back towards something, usually it goes back to its funding source. So I don't think we bought I don't know this, but I would guess we didn't buy all of those Macs 3 or 4 years ago out of the activity fund. So we can ask her about that next time we see her. That's not pressing. Anybody else have any questions? Those were the 2 that I had. No? Anybody else? No? All right, then I appreciate the information on that. Topics for future meetings. We've got allowable revenue sources. We'd kind of talked to Dr. Baker at one point about how do we get some of our great programs that we have here in Torrington Public Schools available to other schools. I know there were some financial limitations as to how you take revenue. If it goes to the city, comes to us. So kind of hoping to get some kind of an update on how or if we can even do that. We have the usual expiring contracts update. We'll have our monthly agenda, and I suspect that we'll hear back from the city in time for, we'll have some kind of an update from the presentation. We have to meet with the city at some point before the May meeting, so we can add that to the agenda as well, like a budget update. Anybody else have anything they want to add to next month's agenda? No? All right, comments for the good of the order. We'll start this side. Mr. Kisco. Yeah.
I love that we're looking at accepting students from other towns and cities into our awesome special ed programming.
Good meeting, thanks.
Great meeting. Have a great night.
Good meeting, thank you.
All right, great. Well, thank you guys for all the effort as usual. I know a lot goes into this, thanks to all those who are here and who may not be. We're looking for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? This meeting is adjourned.